I got involved in the Free Gaza approximately a year ago. And it was basically, I moved to Cyprus 3 years ago. And I was reading the papers one day. I seen this thing, basically people that wanted to go, they were looking for volunteers. They were bringing 2 sailboats to Gaza in August. And so I was just looking at this and I was going, okay, this is right up my alley. I love sailing. I've been sailing basically all my life. So I said, that's up my alley. Now, luckily we had a guy that was, I would say, in the Free Gaza who was pretty well connected politically. And he just made a couple of phone calls and they realized, okay, this was the Israelis trying to scupper the whole thing on us. We got to Crete, we met up with the second boat. And from there we headed on to Cyprus. We picked up the rest of the activists that was coming with us. We had a whole range with people from 17 different countries on board. And we also actually had Israelis on board. So we headed off then from Cyprus to Gaza. We had been getting threats the whole way through from the Israelis. They were actually even phoning our private houses, and basically one woman had actually got a call. The children answered the phone and it was kind of, say goodbye to Mammy because Mammy isn't coming back. We're going to kill her. We got in without actually seeing one Israeli boat the whole way. And when we got in there, it was the most amazing thing that you could ever see. You know, there was at least 10,000 people out in this small little port. They got on bits of floating timber no bigger than this and tried to paddle out to the boat. Everybody wanted to be the first one out to these boats. These were the first boats into Gaza, international boats into Gaza in over 41 years. So I mean, these people just, this was all of a sudden, it was a ray of light to these people. Now they actually could see some hope. These people were under siege for the last few years and nothing getting into the country. All of a sudden, these people came in and they didn't have to ask Israeli permission. This was beyond their comprehension. These people just basically came on board and just welcomed us so much. People that had nothing were offering us everything that they had. They had nothing and they're offering us everything. So while we were there, they brought us around Gaza and they showed us all the different things. Now, while I was there, I would have to say that this really changed my life. What I seen in there really changed it. For example, we were brought to Al-Shifa Hospital, and one of the first places we were brought to was the prenatal clinic. So you're looking at these premature babies in incubators. And so I went along to the first one, and you're just trying to get as much information possibly as you can so that you can pass it on to other people. And you're looking at this baby and you go, okay, what's wrong with it? And they were saying what was wrong with it and everything else. And you're going, okay, well, what are you going to do? They says, well, we don't have the medicine, so we cannot operate on it. So they says what they're trying to do is get an exit visa for this child so they can get it into Israel and get this child looked after. But like you said, unfortunately, the problem is that he's male. And any male under the age of 35 is considered a terrorist. So therefore cannot get an exit visa. Only under extreme circumstances can he get it. So I asked them what was going to do. Basically, all they could do is make it as comfortable as possible until it died. Now that's a 26-week-old baby. And this is what they're claiming are terrorists. You go on to the second incubator. Same story. There's a whole line of them. You stop asking. You really stop asking because you know exactly what they're going to say. Basically, they were saying, maybe a week, maybe 2 days, this one maybe 2 days. After that, you really stop asking because you just kind of take it. This couple had been trying for a child for 10 years. And after 10 years they had a child. 6 months after the child was born, the Israelis came in, pulled the family out of the house, grabbed the child, threw it back into the house and blew the house up. Now this is punishment because he was Hamas. That's not punishment, that's torture. Sorry, for me that's torture. The sewage treatment plant in Gaza hasn't been working for 3 years now. So now you have the raw sewage from 1.5 million people going into the sea. Now there's no food coming in through the crossings. There's a small amount of food coming in, but not enough to sustain 1.5 million through the tunnels. So basically your only form of food is fishing. If these fishermen go out past 4 miles, they get shot at by the Israelis. Even though the Israelis have actually signed the paper to say that you can go out 12 miles. Palestinian waters is 12-mile limit. If they go out past 4 miles, they're shot. Now, fishing inside the 4 miles means that these guys are spending longer taking sewage out of their nets than they are taking fish. So the only thing they can do is take the fish and bring them to the markets and sell them, because it's the only form of food that's in there, and it's the only way they're going to make money. So if you're eating polluted fish, and this is your staple diet is polluted fish, eventually you will get sick. Your stomach will give up on you. You go to the hospital, there's no medicine. So basically you die roaring, and that's what they want them to do, is die roaring.
When the first boat went into Gaza with the Free Gaza movement, the President of the United Nations, Manuel de Soto Brockman, said that it provided a 21st century example of what King and Gandhi had done in the 20th century in terms of non-violent, peaceful resistance by people to something they wanted to change. So he said, if you like, that what the Free Gaza movement had done in a non-violent, peaceful way, having taken this direct action of bringing the boat from Cyprus, getting it through into Gazan waters, and it established an important principle in that you didn't have to ask a third party's permission to enter. You recognised the sovereignty of the Palestinian people themselves and their authority to receive or deny you access. Once you had got to Gaza and got off that boat and stood there with the people, what had happened in those 15 hours beforehand where you were just so sick you just wanted to die, it just all passed like a nightmare in the morning. And you felt humbled by the sense of appreciation that those individuals showed to you because you came. And you kind of feel, look, I'm not special, I'm not important, I'm just an ordinary individual, but I came on my own behalf to validate your experience, to say that I recognise the fact that you are in here, that what is happening to you is unjust, that you suffer. I mightn't be able to change a government policy, I mightn't be able to change the world, but in some way, by taking a small step in terms of direct action, I gave some other individual hope. I gave some other individual recognition of their humanity. And it was an extremely humbling experience in that sense. On the boat we had a group of people that really, it's one of the things about a group like this, or a room full of people. This room mightn't be packed tonight, it mightn't be full to the rafters, but as opposed to the lack of quantity, the one thing that you can be assured of, if you're sitting in this room listening to us, there's quality in the room. There are people with a heart who care about others, and that's more significant than huge numbers. And all of the people on that boat deeply cared about what was happening in Gaza, and that gives you heart, it gives you encouragement to see that you're not on your own, you're not an individual just standing there shouting into the wind, that there are others, and that eventually that voice will grow and hopefully it will bring about change.